In 1405, the waters near Nanjing began to fill with ships, not dozens, hundreds, warships, supply vessels, horse transports, water carriers, and enormous treasure ships crowded the river. Thousands of sailors loaded silk, porcelain, food, weapons, and gifts for rulers in distant lands. At the center of this floating city stood a man who had once been a prisoner. His name was Zheng He. Nearly 90 years before Christopher Columbus crossed the Atlantic, Zheng He sailed from China with one of the largest fleets the world had ever seen. Over the next 3 decades, his ships crossed Southeast Asia and the Indian Ocean, reached Arabia, and visited the eastern coast of Africa. They returned with spices, precious stones, foreign ambassadors, and animals that seemed almost mythical. Then, the voyages stopped, the shipyards fell silent, the fleets disappeared. Many records were lost. China had reached across the ocean and then turned away from it. Why would a civilization capable of ruling the seas abandon its greatest fleet? And what was Zheng He really sent to do? Zheng He was born around 1371 in Yunnan, far from the coast. His original name was Mahi. His family was Muslim, and his father and grandfather may have traveled toward Mecca. But his childhood ended in war. When Ming armies conquered Yunnan, the young Mahi was captured, castrated, and sent into imperial service. It should have destroyed his future. Instead, he rose. Mahi was assigned to Zhu De, the powerful prince of Yan. He accompanied the prince during military campaigns, learned strategy, managed men, and proved himself calm under pressure. When Zhu De seized the throne and became the Jianwen Emperor, Mahi was rewarded with a new surname, Zheng. The former prisoner became one of the emperor's most trusted servants. But Jianwen had a problem. He had taken the throne from his nephew, the Jianwen Emperor. When the capital fell, Jianwen vanished. His body was never clearly identified. Rumors claimed that he had escaped, disguised himself as a monk, and fled overseas. Was Zheng He secretly sent to find him? No surviving order proves it. But the story followed the voyages for centuries. The official purpose was larger. The Jianwen Emperor wanted foreign rulers to recognize the power of the Ming dynasty. Zheng He's fleet would carry gifts, invite tribute, open trade, and announce that China stood at the center of a vast international order. The fleet was not just an expedition. It was a floating declaration of imperial power. In 1405, Zheng He began his first voyage. Ming records describe more than 200 ships and tens of thousands of men. Although historians still debate the exact numbers, the largest vessels were called treasure ships. Later accounts describe them as gigantic, much larger than European ships of the same age. Their true size remains uncertain, but there is no doubt that the fleet was immense. Columbus sailed with 3 ships. Zheng He commanded a moving city. The fleet traveled through Southeast Asia, stopping at Kampa, Java, Sumatra, and Malacca. Malacca was especially important. It controlled a narrow passage between the South China Sea and the Indian Ocean. Spices, silk, ceramics, horses, and precious metals moved through this route. Zheng He did not enter an empty ocean waiting to be discovered. The Indian Ocean was already one of the busiest trading worlds on Earth. Arab merchants, Indian traders, Persian navigators, Chinese sailors, and Southeast Asian rulers had crossed it for generations. What made Zheng He different was scale. When his sails appeared, entire ports took notice. Some rulers welcomed him with ceremonies and gifts, others resisted. Near Palembang, a powerful pirate named Chen Zuyi controlled important sea routes and threatened merchant ships. Zheng He confronted him. A naval battle followed. The pirate fleet was defeated, and Chen Zuyi was taken back to China and executed. This was the other side of the treasure fleet. It carried silk and porcelain, but also soldiers and weapons. Zheng He was an ambassador when diplomacy worked. When it failed, he became a commander. On later voyages, the fleet sailed to India, Hormuz, Arabia, and the eastern coast of Africa. Hormuz was one of the richest ports in the region. Merchants there traded pearls, horses, spices, silk, and precious metals. Zheng He's sailors entered a world of unfamiliar languages, religions, and customs. Translators and Muslim crew members helped the fleet communicate across distant kingdoms. From Africa, the fleet brought back one of its most famous treasures, a giraffe. To people at the Ming court, the animal resembled the qilin, a legendary creature said to appear during the reign of a wise and virtuous ruler. The giraffe became more than an exotic animal. It became political theater. Its rival suggested that even the wonders of distant lands had come to honor the Chinese emperor. But the voyages were enormously expensive. Ships required timber, iron, rope, food, labor, and constant repair. Tens of thousands of men had to be supplied for months or years. The gifts China sent abroad were often more valuable than the tribute it received. To Yongle, this was the price of glory. To many officials, it was waste. The Ming court was deeply divided. Zheng He was a eunuch, loyal directly to the emperor. Many Confucian scholar officials distrusted eunuchs and feared their growing power. They also believed China's greatest danger was not across the sea. It was in the north. Mongol forces remained a serious threat beyond the Great Wall. Defending the frontier required soldiers, horses, grain, and enormous sums of money. Why spend a fortune sailing toward Africa when enemies could attack from Mongolia? As long as Yongle lived, the voyages continued. But emperors die, and sometimes their dreams die with them. After Yongle's death in 1424, policy changed. Voyages were suspended. Shipbuilding slowed. Officials who had opposed the expeditions gained influence. Years later, Zheng He was allowed to command one final journey. In 1431, already an old man, he sailed west for the 7th time. He never returned to court in triumph. Zheng He is believed to have died during the voyage, probably around 1433. Some accounts place his death near Calicut in India. His body may have been buried at sea, while a symbolic tomb remained in Nanjing. The man who had crossed the ocean 7 times disappeared into the world he had helped connect. Soon, his fleet disappeared as well. China did not completely abandon maritime trade. Chinese merchants continued to sail, sometimes legally and sometimes against government restrictions. But the great state-sponsored expeditions ended. The shipyards no longer built fleets on the same scale. Maritime restrictions increased during parts of the Ming period. Official attention turned toward the northern frontier. Later stories claim that hostile officials deliberately destroyed Zheng He's records so no future emperor could revive the voyages. That may be partly true, but the evidence is incomplete. Some records were lost. Others may have been neglected, scattered, or destroyed in later wars. The result was the same. One of the greatest naval projects in history faded into fragments and legends. And this leaves a powerful question. What if the voyages had continued? Could China have established permanent bases across the Indian Ocean? Could its ships have reached Europe? Could they have sailed around Africa and into the Atlantic? Some writers even claim that Zheng He reached America before Columbus. There is no convincing mainstream evidence for that idea, but the theory survives because Zheng He's real achievements were already so extraordinary. The fleet proved that Ming China possessed the ships, money, organization, and navigational skill to project power thousands of miles from home. What it lacked was not ability. It lacked the political decision to continue. Europe's later voyages were driven by competition between kingdoms, private profit, religious ambition, and the search for new trade routes. If one ruler refused to support an explorer, another might agree. Zheng He's fleet depended on a single imperial system, when the emperor's priorities changed. The ocean program had no independent force to keep it alive. That may be the true answer to the mystery. The fleet did not vanish because China forgot how to sail. It vanished because those in power decided that the sea was no longer worth the cost. Before Columbus crossed the Atlantic, Chinese ships had already sailed from the Pacific to the coast of Africa. They carried diplomats, soldiers, translators, doctors, and merchants. They defeated pirates, entered royal courts, and returned with creatures that seemed to belong to legend. Then the sails came down. The records faded, the ocean remained, and the greatest fleet of its age became a memory. History is not shaped only by what civilizations are capable of doing. Sometimes it is shaped by what they choose to abandon.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, please like, comment and subscribe to the 9th Courtyard. Beyond the first 8 courtyards lies the story you were never told.